All right, good morning, everybody. It is 9 o'clock. It's a pre-described time for our Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District's regular meeting for Tuesday, June 16th, 2020. It is 9 a.m. And with that, we will call to order the meeting and have a salute to the flag. So, Commissioner Herman, will you lead us in the salute, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioner Herman. I appreciate that. So, as everybody knows, we are still in Zoom meetings due to COVID-19. This is, nobody is in the chambers. As many of you have seen here, we are socially distanced, at least 6 feet apart. So with that, we will go to call to order, and I'll have a roll call. Madam Clerk.
Bob Lucy, Chair.
Here.
Marcia Burke-Bigler, Vice Chair.
Here.
Kitty Jung by phone.
Here.
Vaughn Hartung via Zoom.
Here.
Jeannie Herman.
Here.
Charles Moore, Chief.
Here.
District Attorney Nathan Edwards.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right. Public comment. Item 3, Chief.
Mr. Chairman, item 3 is public comment. Comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the Board of Fire Commissioners' agenda. District will also hear public comment during individual action items with comments limited to 3 minutes per person, and comments are to be made to the Board of Fire Commissioners as a whole. Madam Clerk, is there any public comment?
I have nobody signed in for public comment.
All right, no public comment this morning. Do we have anybody on Zoom wishing to speak?
I don't have anyone with their hand raised.
Okay, seeing no hands raised on Zoom, we will bring it back to the board. Chief, we're on to item 4.
Item 4 is Commissioners, Fire Chiefs announcements, requests for information, topics for future agendas, and statements relating to items not on the agenda. No discussion among commissioners will take place on this item.
So, Chief, do you have anything for us this morning?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, item number 11 will not be necessary, so that can be tabled.
Okay, we'll pull item 11 this morning from the agenda. All right, and do you have any other announcements that you'd like to ask? All right. I'll go to Commissioner Hartung, or first, Commissioner Hartung, do you have anything you would like to add this morning for Commissioner comments?
I do, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Chief, if you can just kind of periodically update us as to the peer support group that we were talking about, the large group that would include the sheriff's office and all of the other police departments, as well as the fire services. It would be good to kind of know where TM is in that process, so that we can hopefully get this thing stood up on a regional-wide basis as quickly as possible. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Jung, do you have anything this morning? All right, seeing nothing for Commissioner Jung. And I have nothing signed in from the other commissioners. I did want to make a quick announcement. I was driving around South Reno yesterday down by Winco and noticed this big, tall ladder truck out towering over the Winco building. And I had to go and see what all the stir was about. And what I found is Captain Stevenson, Battalion Chief Heika, and Firefighter Stowe, and firefighters, who else was it with the other operator? Who was the operator there? Can't think. I'll remember it though. Anyways, they were testing on our new fire truck. And it was pretty neat to watch these guys roll out the new ladder truck, which is a very big piece of apparatus. Was able to deploy that in about 6 minutes and get to the top of that ladder in about 6 minutes, deployed and ready to fight whatever or utilize that piece of equipment. So really neat to see that, and what a cool piece of equipment. However, I was told it was what they would consider a beginner, entry level is what I was told. It was an entry level truck. When I looked at that piece of equipment, I said, that is not an entry level piece of a truck. That is a very, very structured piece of equipment, but nonetheless, very cool to see that piece of equipment now in operation for Truckee Meadows. It'll be definitely an asset that we'll utilize for years to come. So neat to see that up and running and down there at Station 33. So with that, no further comments. We are on to our consent agenda. Mr. Fire Chief.
Mr. Chairman, item 5 is consent items, items A, B, and C.
All right. Are there any discussion on any of the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any public comment?
There's nobody signed in.
All right. Seeing no public comment, we will call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Did I hear Kitty?
Commissioner Jung? Do we lose Commissioner Jung? All right, we lost Commissioner Jung. So we will, the motion will carry with four commissioners voting, Commissioner Jung not being able to vote at this time.
Okay, it will show a unanimous vote because in the system it's consent.
Yep. All right, we are on to Fire Chief's report. Hold on one second. Let's just give her 1 second here. Commissioner Jung?
Hi.
Hi, sorry, we lost you.
Okay, sorry about that.
Hey,
Well, if it loses again, I'll call you back when I'm in a better place.
okay, and then Commissioner Jung, were you an affirmative on the consent agenda this morning?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're on to item 6, Fire Chief's report. This is for discussion only, Chief.
Just to add on, Mr. Chairman, to your comments about the ladder truck, it'll be going into service officially on June 23. It took quite a bit of time for us to get everyone trained that needs to be trained on it. It's certainly a complex piece of apparatus, so we'll start to see it roll out of Station 33 on June 23. And I think Mr. Mayberry will be doing something with the media on that.
Awesome.
With respect to our ISO rating, we have received the re-rating. It has remained unchanged. I did a little more research into the Class 3 application, and quite honestly, 94% of the structures within the district qualify for the Class 3 rating, which is pretty good for a fire protection district. ISO likes to see a concentration of resources, and typically you see high concentration of fire department assets in municipalities as opposed to rural districts like us. So the fact that we've been able to achieve a Class 3, I think, is remarkable. There's really only, generally speaking, a 5% difference between a Class 1, which is the best, and a Class 3. So there's very little difference in insurance premium to the constituents with the Class 3, but that Class 3 applies to anybody that lives within 5 road miles of a fire station, whether it's a career station or a volunteer station. And whether they have a hydrant or not have a hydrant, they get the Class 3, which is, saves your constituents quite a bit of money. So ISO is not an insurance premium. Insurance companies may use ISO criteria. They may use it in conjunction with their own criteria, or they may not use it at all. To get any better than a Class 3 is probably not a wise investment, because it would take millions of dollars to get to a Class 1. And again, because there's only a 5% difference between a run and a 3, it really doesn't make much sense to do that. But still, I'm very, very pleased with the Class 3. And in fact, the departments that are a Class 1, 2, or 3 is few in this country, and most are below that rating. So very proud of what staff has done. I will mention that in previous meeting, we mentioned that we would be taking Type 1 engines out of the volunteer departments. We've since decided, and sorry for the premature announcement on that, but we've since decided to leave the Type 1s at the volunteer stations because they are critical to the ISO rating. But we will be removing those Type 1 engines that were depicted in my chief's report last month because they're too old. So we are getting 5 new engines come this December, and when we retire some of our frontline apparatus, we'll be moving those pieces of equipment into the volunteer stations and surplusing the pieces that are there now. So I want to make that clarification. So with that, if there's any questions about the ISO rating, I'd be happy to answer them. But it's rather a cryptic analysis that they go through. I've often said it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but they've told me, well, Chief, it makes sense to the insurance companies, and fair enough, that's all we really need to know, but still, I'm very, very proud of what we've been able to achieve on that. Item 2, we want to thank again Commissioner Hartung for his funds to get our Ash Can program going again. I brought one here with our new decal. Commissioners, if you would like one, Commissioner Herman has said she'd like one. We'll certainly bring one over. Feel free to use it yourself or distribute it to any of your constituents. But we have 300 now to distribute to citizens in Washoe County. Mr. Mayberry, again, will do a media splash for us, and we'll announce that they'll be available. Anybody that wants to come and pick one up can do so free of charge. Since we've been doing this program, we have seen fires started from barbecue ash and fireplace ash and oily rags diminish quite a bit. So not only are they good for barbecue ash, they're very good for oily rags when people are doing their summertime projects. Linseed oil or stain, when they use cotton rags, there is a chemical process that happens that generates heat within the rag and spontaneously combusts. So we'll include some instructions in the can, and we'll be happy to get those out to the community.
Great.
Finally, on the grant application, I've summarized the SAFER grants that we've applied for. We've applied for 4. One was specifically to Gerlach Fire. We've asked for 2 more full-time employees, which there would be no cost match to the county for that if we get the grant award. And that grant will help us keep Gerlach staffing at a consistent basis during the day. Let me turn to the page. I'm sorry, I don't remember these out of memory. The second one was for a volunteer program manager so we can give a little bit of a kickstart to our volunteer program. We've asked for a volunteer program manager and some PPE and a few other things, some stipend pay for volunteers and reserve firefighters to come in and help staff our stations. So we'll be using those reserve firefighters within our own jurisdiction and also to go up to Gerlach and help occasionally there. The third grant, we've asked for 3 full-time firefighters for Truckee Meadows specifically, and we'll use those to help staff the ladder truck or wherever else we might need some help staffing. And then finally is the fourth grant is for a fire prevention grant that will add some money to our green waste program and perhaps also reinstitute the curbside chipping program to encourage people to create defensible space in their yards. So you see the value of those grants. If we are awarded those, we'll bring them back to the board for acceptance. But we're asking Senator Cortez Masto's office to help lobby and a few other folks to see if we can't possibly get those grants approved. And if there's anything on the commissioner dashboard or review of critical calls, I do have a short 12-minute movie to show you. We've experienced extreme fire behavior even early on, and the video that you're going to see occurred in May when we expect our vegetation to be very green and not burn so robust. This actually happened down in Wadsworth, and you'll see the extreme fire behavior. So if you go ahead and play that. We wouldn't expect to see that kind of fire behavior until July, August, September. So we haven't had much moisture in this area for quite a number of months. So we would urge the public to practice good fire prevention and caution when they're out in the backcountry because we are going to see this kind of fire behavior and worse during the course of the summer. So that concludes my chief's report, Mr. Chairman. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great. I don't see any of the commissioners signed in this morning for questions at this time. So we will move on. If any of the commissioners.
Chairman.
Oh, Commissioner Hartung.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to thank the chief and staff for the Ash Can program. I know it's been very successful out here. in Spanish Springs, and I'm thankful that we're able to continue this program. And maybe, Chief, what we need to do is perhaps we can think of a different name instead of ash can, because I can tell you a lot of people. I use mine. I don't really have either fireplace ashes or barbecue ashes, either one, because everything that I have is gas. But I do use it for oily rags, and it really is very comforting to know that you can seal those things off, because it's very dangerous. And so maybe we can think of a different name, or maybe a compendium of a name. Ash can, oily rag, or something of that nature. I mean, I don't know. I haven't really given it any thought, but I think if more people knew that they could use them for oily rags, we might distribute more of them, and who knows what it'll save. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Hartung.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I was just informed that we did not get item C into your board packets because they came in late. So sorry about that, but we'll need to table item C.
Okay, so we'll table item C, and it was for discussion only, so that's great for your presentation. We'll have that probably distributed before the next meeting for discussion. You know, I do want to tail on to Commissioner Hartung's discussion. You know, in regards to the ash can, have we reached out to throughout the county? Do we know with the Community Services Department how many homes still have wood fire stoves within their houses for that type of program? Do we know how many homes still have active wood fire stoves?
I don't, Mr. Chairman, but I think we can get that information through GIS.
I mean, it would be an interesting number to know how many still. I mean, I know there are still homes in Holcomb Ranch area, quite a number of the ranch homes that still have wood fire stoves or fireplaces, true fireplaces, because the majority of the fire code now provides that, you know, new home construction has either gas stoves or not a wood fire stove. So it would be for those, and obviously there are going to be many more pieces of property that have wood fire products like outdoor fireplaces and different things like we won't know about. But it would be nice to at least offer that for those people that live within the fire district that have a wood, to say, hey, look, we have this ash can program. Are you interested? Can we drop one off? Can we give you something like that? You know, and that gives us a little bit more of that rollout for the program. Also, I'd like to point out, as you've pointed out today too, with the ISO ratings and, you know, green and all the high vegetation, even with the green, we still have high wind days too. The last couple of days, and we've seen exorbitantly high winds throughout the district and throughout northern Nevada for all those individuals. Remember, be fire conscious right now, as we've talked about for a number of times, even going out and hiking, especially with the COVID and being stuck at home, meaning people are outside recreating in the outdoors more often now than they have been ever before. So be conscientious when you're out riding your mountain bike or hiking, that, you know, if you see something that might cause a fire or you might be in a fire area, please be conscious of that because of the high winds. So, yes, Madam Vice Chair.
So, Chief, could you tell me, do you know if North Lake Tahoe Fire has taken up the ash can program and if they're using it or not?
I don't know. I don't believe that they have. But I believe that the board had requested that I reach out to other fire districts to see if we could partner perhaps and have all 4 fire departments within the county perhaps partner in this.
Yeah.
So we have yet to do that, but I think that would be great if all 4 fire departments could put their names on this.
Yeah, because I know there are a lot of homes in the Incline Village area that are older and they have wood fireplaces and, you know, they may have, of course, they're not allowed to use even charcoal briquettes anymore. They have to have gas fireplaces or gas barbecues, but that doesn't mean everybody is following that rule. So
Yeah.
I think it would be a really good idea if we could get them in up there. And I'll also work with IVGID to see if we can't get some donations in from that way to get it for them.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Great.
All right. Seeing no further comments on that, we'll end the fire chief's report and we will move on to item 7.
Item 7 is a recommendation to approve and accept a resolution changing the existing meeting schedule of the Board of Fire Commissioners from the current standing meeting schedule of the 3rd Tuesday of the month at 9 a.m. to the 1st Tuesday of the month at 10 a.m. effective September 2020. Mr. Chairman, you and I had discussed, we've had some meetings lately that have really compressed up against the BCC meeting that follows us. And so I was looking for some alternatives. so that when we do have a lengthy agenda or you do have a lot of deliberations to make on any particular agenda item, or we do have a lot of public comment, an hour doesn't seem to be getting the job done. So it could be possible that we move the meeting to the first Tuesday, which we would not have that compression against the BCC meeting, but it would require that the commissioners come in then an additional Tuesday. Or alternatively, we could leave the meeting the same, perhaps start at 8:30 and just get a little bit faster jump on it, or just simply leave it the same. But we recommended the first Tuesday just because it would give us the maximum amount of time to conduct business.
Great. So I'm going to open this for discussion. This is something that I had the discussion with Chief in regards to how we conduct business. I do feel that most of the times that we come this hour prior to, we feel rushed. And it is important that we discuss, especially moving forward, as we continue to have very lengthy and complex discussions about how we operate here within the Truckee Meadows, expanding fire service north of into the northern valleys as we continue to grow, how we're going to deal with legislative issues and to property tax issues. I think it's important that we have that ability to have those discussions and not be jammed up against an hour for anybody who's running the meeting, or if we have public comment, it does make it very challenging. So I want to open it up for discussion for any of the commissioners who might have a comment about that. Vice Chair. Madam Vice Chair.
I was going to say, let's give.
I'll go him second.
Okay. Well, from my perspective, coming in an extra week is coming into the office an extra week. It's no big deal. I actually have other meetings that week, so it's not like I'm on vacation that week. So that's not an issue for me. And I do think it is important for us to figure out some way to not try and compress our meeting, because sometimes we do go over, and more often than not, we go over, actually. And so I think we do need to see if we can't find some way to really do a comprehensive and full fire board meeting. And so I don't have a problem moving it to that first Tuesday. That's fine with me.
Okay. Commissioner Herman, do you have any comments?
No, I'm in full agreement.
Okay. Commissioner Hartung, do you have any comments in regards to that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I'd almost rather do it on the third Tuesday and start earlier. I don't mind even starting at 8. I don't mind compressing the day that way. But whatever the board feels that they'd like to do, I'm okay with it. Just either way, it's I also agree that we do very often run into the next meeting, and it is good to start on time. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay, great. I know, and Commissioner Jung has not signed in to talk to that about that. So, if it is the discussion, look, obviously the discussion of the board is that we need to find more time in our days to provide for this meeting. It would be my recommendation, so I'm going to look for a motion. I would support either way if we started at 8 on the third Tuesday and give us 2 solid hours. Do you think that would be enough, Chief? 2 solid hours on a Tuesday prior to BCC? Or we can do the 9 a.m. or a 10 a.m. on the second Tuesday or the first Tuesday. So it's up to the board. So I'm looking for a motion either way. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I don't have a problem with starting at 8 a.m., but my concern is that we compress our staff, and our staff is coming in and have to be up, and as long as we're still doing Zoom, we've got to make sure Zoom is up, and so that would be my only concern. I think we'd be better if we just moved it to the first Monday, the first Tuesday. So I would recommend, I would make a motion that we move the fire board effective September of 2020 to the first Tuesday of every month, and start it at 10, and then give it a 2-hour time period that we could get our work done in that time period. That would be my recommendation.
Great.
I can second that.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second to move our meeting starting September 2020 to the first Tuesday of every month at 10 a.m. for a 2-hour period. Do I have any public comment?
There's no public comment.
Okay, seeing no public comment. All right, I've got a motion and a second on the floor. I will call for the vote.
Discussion, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I have my hand raised. I apologize.
Commissioner Hartung, discussion.
Yes. So So, and I don't mind moving it to the first Tuesday. That's not an issue. But I guess the question is this: is it? And I would say moving staff in on a Tuesday is just as cumbersome as it is putting them in at the end of the month and bringing them in a little earlier, because it's fire staff and most everybody's up and running anyways. So I think it's okay, but I mean, I like to, sort of compress my meetings a little bit, but I'll support what the board wants to do.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Hartung. I do have a motion and a second on the floor, and I'm going to ask Chief really quickly before we take the vote. Chief, I mean, what would be your preference in regards to staffing for you and your staff? Remember, we do have the clerk's office that do have to participate, and IT to run the meetings for us. What would be your preference, sir?
My preference would be for 10 a.m. on the first Tuesday.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. With that being said, I have a motion and a second. We've taken public comment. We've had discussion. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries, I believe, unanimously.
We did not hear from Commissioner Jung.
Commissioner Jung. Did we lose her again by chance?
Commissioner Jung is, she's going to call.
Okay. Okay, that's fine.
Okay, we'll stop the voting here then.
We'll stop. Well, yep. So motion carries unanimously with 4 commissioners voting and Commissioner Hartung voting via Zoom. All right, we are going to move on to item 8. Chief.
Mr. Chairman, item 8 is a recommendation to approve our property and liability insurance and workers' compensation insurance for the next fiscal year, and Cindy Vance will present the details. We also have Brandon Lewis, who is our broker from USI, available on Zoom if there are any technical questions regarding our renewal.
All right, Ms. Vance.
Good morning, Commissioners. Cindy Vance for the record, Chief Fiscal Officer. This is a proposal, recommendation to approve our renewal for our property liability insurance and workers' compensation insurance to not to exceed an annual premium of $1,146,019. Last year we did we went out to bid and we actually got several different proposals for different insurance, and we moved our workers' comp insurance actually and our property liability insurance from Travelers to a combination of VFIS and 7710 for workers' comp and a couple other agencies for the supplemental insurances. This year we did work on just renewal quotes and worked with USI to obtain those, and they would always go out to bid if they felt that the renewals weren't in line. We did get renewals for VFIS for about a 7% increase. That's our property, casualty, and liability insurance. I know that other agencies are seeing up to 10% or more in increases in that. Our smaller insurances of crime, employee theft, and network security liability had some increases. Our workers' comp, we've actually had some really good loss runs on our workers' comp, working with 7710 and their agency to get people back to work. So our loss runs are going down. Our overall liability insurance quote went up about 3%, but that's in combination with an estimated payroll increase with the new fuel staff and everything of 15%. So overall, we are looking at only about a 3.7% increase in insurance for fiscal year 21. And all of these amounts have been taken into consideration for our budget and included in the budget for fiscal year 21.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Vance. Madam Vice Chair.
Just curious whether or not the amounts are increased or different because you guys have moved from the county complex to your own facilities. Did you have to increase for coverage over there?
Brandon, if you're on the phone, maybe you can answer that. I don't believe so because of the value. There may be some slight increase in the value of the building, but the contents are moved and most of the insurances,
Right.
we have all the other buildings, so it would be
Okay.
very minimal. Brandon?
Hi, Cindy. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
we got you.
Okay, good morning, Chairman Lucy and the board and Chief Moore. Thanks for letting me join virtually. The addition, moving over the office to Barron Way did not have a major impact on the premium. I don't have that number at hand, but when we added the location, it wasn't a big change in premium. And when we took off the former office at the county complex, it wasn't a major change in premium either.
Okay. So Ms. Vance and Mr. Lewis, thank you guys for joining us this morning. It looked like in 2018, we had an annual premium of $1,137,000, which then went down to $1,119,064 and now has gone back up to that 146. Why the decrease so dramatically last year, and then the kind of that re-jump back to about the same level we were at 2018?
The workers' comp was one of them, with travelers insurance gave us a very good renewal in 2019 for fiscal year 19, but they actually moved out of the workers' comp
Realm.
business for fire districts. So we actually reached out, and that was one of our major increases, is trying to find workers' comp insurance for fire districts.
Okay, great. All right. Is there any public comment on this, Madam Clerk? Signed in.
There is no public comment.
Do we have any public comment from Zoom? Commissioner Hartog, do you have any other further discussion on this item?
No, I don't, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, and Commissioner.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Madam.
I'd make a motion to approve the property and liability insurance and workers' compensation insurance as proposed by the Truckee Meadows Fire District staff and as written in our staff report.
Okay, I have a motion.
Second.
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously with Commissioner Hartung voting remotely and Commissioner Jung not in attendance at this time. All right, we are on to item 9.
Mr. Chairman, item 9 is a recommendation to approve the payment of upfront expenses in a total amount of $249,200, which are associated with the Hazardous Fuels Management and Standby Services Agreement, approved on April 28th, 2020, to include the purchase of one Type 5 fire engine in an amount not to exceed $180,000 under the award of bid number 3132-20. Salaries and benefits for 5 fuel staff in the amount of not to exceed $30,055. Radios, equipment, and supplies in an amount not to exceed $39,145. The total cost of which ultimately will be reimbursed by NV Energy pursuant to the agreement, and recommendation to approve a resolution directing staff to make the necessary budget adjustments for the estimated expenses of $249,200 through fiscal year 19 and 20. So Chief Kukulis will present this item to you.
Good morning. For the record, Alex Kukulis, Deputy Chief Truckee Meadows Fire. So this is more or less a follow-on to the presentation we made the last couple of months in regard to the NV Energy Fuels crew. That agreement's in place now, and so this is effectively just a budgetary authority to adjust the budget and expend those expenses. The Type 5 fire apparatus, which is the bulk of this, is we're ordering 3 through the fire district at our expense, and this is a 4th. For the fuels module that just started a few weeks ago. That will be directly reimbursed by NV Energy, so it's effectively no cost, and the other associated items are the salaries for the remainder of this fiscal year for the short amount that's left, and then the initial equipment for them. So we're told that Type 5 engine, we're currently using one of our older ones to get them by. We should take delivery of this hopefully somewhere on Labor Day.
Great. Any questions in regards to the purchase of the engine for the fuels management program? Commissioner Herman, nothing?
No.
Commissioner Hartung?
No, Mr. Chairman, I think this is great.
Fantastic. All right. Do we have any public comment on this item?
We do not have any public
Do we have any
comment.
public comment on Zoom? All right. Seeing no public comment for this item, we will bring it back to the board. Now, this time looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Hartung. I have a second from Madam Vice Chair. All those in favor, I'll call for the vote. Signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously with all 4 commissioners voting. Please affirm your votes on the screen. And we will move on to now item 10. Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 10 is the recommendation to approve a purchase and sale agreement for the acquisition of property located at 5335 Pelham Drive. This has been reviewed with the board previously. I think you're well aware of what we're doing. We're recommending a purchase of a home that's right next to the Hidden Valley Apparatus Bay so that we can remove the modular residential quarters as per the SUP, which has to be gone by 2021. We think we'll repurpose that modular to the Lemon Valley Fire Station. But this home is in excellent condition. We would propose to close on it on July 8th in the new fiscal year. And the recommendation also includes allowing the owners to occupy the premises until the end of August so they can pack up and relocate, although they'll probably be out sooner than August. Nevertheless, we wanted to extend a little bit of time for them to load up and head to their new life in Oregon. So we think that the property is going to be an excellent solution for us for Hidden Valley. And we're certainly going to defer a lot of expense as opposed to the one we currently own. So once we close on this house, then I'll come back to the board in July with a recommendation to sell 5445 Pelham, and then we'll try to offset as closely as we can this transaction.
Yeah, Madam Vice Chair.
I really like this idea because of the bay, that huge garage that's already there that we can put our fire truck in. And so, I mean, I think this is an excellent proposal and a really good price, frankly, for the house in that area. So, good job.
I would make I'd also make the comment based upon what Commissioner Vice Chair Burkbeeler said, is that this is a smart move because of the little bit amount of money that we're going to have to put into renovating that home. But I believe selling the other home at this time is the smartest thing we can do based upon the market the way it is. The market is still moving very rapidly for the only thing that hasn't really taken a hit during the kind of shutdown was the real estate market. So impressively, things are moving still very well. So I think we could offset the costs for the delta of this purchase being perfect. So I would support this as well. So, all right, any other comment? Commissioner Hartung.
Thank you. Sorry. Hey, Chief, is this on septic or is it on sanitary sewer?
Commissioner Hartung, it's on sanitary sewer, as opposed to the other home, which is on septic.
Wonderful. Yeah,
And-
good. Okay.
And it's out of the floodplain, which is another thing.
Wonderful.
Which is a good thing.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Do we have any public comment on this item?
There's no public comment.
Seeing no public comment, do we have any on Zoom? All right. I'm looking for a motion. To accept this.
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Herman, second from Madam Vice Chair. We'll call for the vote. Seeing no further public comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Please affirm your votes on the screen with Commissioner Hartung voting in the affirmative. All right. Thank you very much. We are on to, let's see here. And then, Chief, we don't have there's no need today for a possible closed session, correct?
Correct.
All right, so we'll have no closed session today. So we're on to item 12, our final fire commissioners and fire chiefs announcement. Chief, anything else you want to add today?
Mr. Chairman, may I back up just a moment to the previous item? We're going to have you sign the paper contract rather than a digital signature, so the clerk will present that to you after the meeting.
Okay. Perfect.
No additional announcements on item 12, Mr.
All
Chairman.
right. Commissioner Hartung, do you have any additional announcements today?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. And I have no other commissioners here in the chamber signed in, so what we'll do is conclude the meeting for today. And do we have any, I'm sorry, we will not. We will not do that.
There's nobody signed in for
Do we
final
have
public comment.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Just getting ahead of myself. I'm super excited. All right. Is there anybody on Zoom? All right. We have no final public comment for the fire board meeting today. So we will be adjourned, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back at 10 o'clock for the regular meeting for the Board of County Commissioners.